It is Thursday, 4/22/21. Welcome to Thursday's training, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are covering the book, 9 Things You Simply Must Do to Enjoy, to Succeed in Love and Life. I know more about what's in the book than I know what's on the cover. That's probably a good thing, Leandro. All right, so let's get right in it. I've got limited time on my iPad. Maybe I ought to close, Leandro, the 38 apps I have running. Which is where I have my notes, but I can convert to my phone. So I'm just letting you guys know, me, I'm Johnny Transparent, that I might run into some issues here. Oh my goodness, Leandro, I should have done this before. There we go. Bear with me one moment, please. Maybe I didn't do another hard end, bud. All right, so we're going over the first principle. Last week, we went over kind of the preamble, if you want to. I mean, that's a legal term, but this week we're going over dig it up, right? It's not the first chapter, but it's the first principle. And I got to tell you all, it is just fantastic. So again, I know that some of you guys probably, I don't even know, because in the beginning, it's hard enough to get people to read the book anyway, Leandro, but certainly when you start, everybody's got to get it and they got to get going. So I understand that a lot of you may not have read it. So there's some characters and so forth, some things going on that I'm probably not going to talk about, but the principles are why we're here, right? We don't care about Susie and Jen. Although the dig it up in principle is that we need to acknowledge the things that that are in our past. And he's a psychologist, so going through this, he talks a lot about his training clinically, and he does not decry that clinical training in identifying what is making a person not mentally healthy. Right. And so, but what he talks about is he's always dealing with people that are unhealthy. And it's a way of digging things up and identifying why they feel the way they feel. You know, it's psychology 101 to 7,000 level course. Right. Mm-hmm. But what his life's passion is dealing with psychologically healthy people on how to live life better. Right. So he's trying to get people back to zero clinically. But now it's a process of getting people off of zero and realizing the best life. Like he says, he defines it by deja vu people, by people who react in similar circumstances, and they get out of life what they want. That's his definition of success. Mine, you guys know I've thrown around, which is achieving the very best us we can achieve, right? I'm a man of faith, so I want to realize what the reason God designed me, okay? So that's what this is about. And it's a very charming story because he's doing a lecture and he's in this huge auditorium and he really paints a beautiful picture of it with these amazing, wood beams, dark wood beams going through and just this beautiful building. And so he asked the people around to look around and ingest and kind of bathe and shower in the beauty of where they're at. Because you know how we can be so focused, you're not paying attention. You're like, I'm there to see Dr. Cloud and I'm not looking around. And then he backs that, he reverse engineers that to where that building started as a thought. And then he even backs up further to these 2 little kids, Susie and Jenny. And both of them liked art and liked math. One of them was encouraged and, supported and uplifted in their dreams. And that was Susie. Susie just, had this little dream life where the teachers saw her passion and fed into it. The parents were, so edifying of it, encouraging of it. And then you got Jenny. Jenny was in maybe a worse school, or the teacher was, they were so regimented to the average and didn't recognize outliers and just, kind of follow the script. The dad is a tired guy and he comes home and she wants to show him something. And he's like, why are you even up right now? That kind of story. But it goes back to that story that I've talked about a lot of times, which is how people, those 2 young men, and I saw it was an article about how they interviewed 2 young men, and one of them was a big success, and they said, why were you a big success? And he said, well, or was a failure, and they were both in the hood. And he said, well, my home was broken, my family, was abusive, my parents were drug addicts, we were poorer than poor. And then they went to the successful guy and they said, how the heck did you get out of the hood? And he says, well, my family was broken. My parents are drug addicts. We were, same things. And that's kind of what he paints here. In that, he draws from these little girls And he doesn't indicate which one makes it and which one doesn't. He's like neither or both, right? Either one, maybe none, or both. And it really matters how we think about things. And we would look at it and think that, well, Susie had it better. She had an easier shot at it. And I would say I would disagree with that, because what this whole, and I'm going to sum this thing up and then we'll kind of dice it up. What the whole chapter is, and dig it up, is dig up the experiences of our life. You guys know, I've told you before, I was in rehab 20 years ago, and I had a whole lot of problems. Stacy and I were separated for 30 days. I didn't even live at home, Leandro, and Catherine was already born. This is before James. And I realized that all those crummy places, the meeting, whatever, all the crap I had to go through offered me keys to rooms that I would never be able to get in and share my experiences. You know, I've told you the story about how verbally I was, you know, told I was a loser and I wasn't going to be nothing, kind of my young adult life, and used that to speak life into my kids and tell them that they're loved, that they matter, that their life has a purpose, that they can do whatever they want. I mean, really intentionally, like, speaking that to them. And I would say that if I had a rather benign childhood with none of that adversity, I wouldn't have, Leandro, there's no question. I would not have thought to do that. Would I be a loving father, an encouraging father? I'm sure, probably. But to be that over intentional about it is a result of what I went through. And I've told this to several people. The most crummy times of my life have really proved to be the building blocks to who I am today. That, and I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything, but man, I mean, the mistakes that I've made have really proved to be something that has been substantial to me in my life. So let's go through the notes. Unless you got any chats, I'm going to take a sip of coffee and water, because I'm a both and guy, Leandro. I don't think linearly, right? It's all encompassing.
No, everyone's saying good afternoon. Everybody's engaged.
Good. All right, happy to have you guys. You know, I just love being around people who want to better themselves.
We got 3 people new into the
Three new people. All right, great. All right, listen, you don't change how you live, but, well, you can. You know what? I'm going to retract that. If you really want to change the way you live, you got to change the way you think. And that is a big part of this chapter. So let me kind of, my father gave me a book when I was younger, and it was about that big, literally. It literally was like a little book. And it was called As a Man Thinketh. And the premise of the book is, as a man or woman or non-gender, binary, whatever, as a person thinketh, so shall they do. As a person thinketh, so shall they do. So I want to read, to change the way we live is to change the way we think. And then I put read page 25 for those of you who have a book already. Like, it's easy to say, Leandro, hey, change the way you think, change the way you live. And it's like, okay, great. You know, and then it's like, I need practical ways. So I'm just going to read directly from Dr. Cloud and some of the practical ways. Like, he says, to make a successful life, the deja vu person, becomes aware of his dreams, desires, talents, and other treasures of his or her soul, listens to them and values them as life itself, takes steps to develop them, beginning in very small ways. Right, Leandro? I was talking to somebody about that the other day. You have to have the big goal, the stretch goal, but then you also have to have the realistic, achievable goals, so that you can celebrate those little victories. Again, it's all in how you think. Right? I told you I read the Energy Bus in like 2 settings, and it talks all about that energy and positivity. And again, I think the book ignores some of the things that I think, which is follow your emotion. Like, you can't always be, we get sad, right? We get angry, we get frustrated. And I think that those emotions, again, lead us to where we want to go. But let me continue. To review, take steps to develop them, beginning in very small ways, seeks coaching to help them to grow. Here we are. Here we all are. Does not care much about the results as his essence, but just continues to express them wherever he can. So again, it's like results matter. See, Leandro, it's like this guy and me need to be brothers. Like, results matter. We change direction on result, but we don't change our attitude on results. We change our attitude on our activity. I believe that we should rest our every emotion on our activity. We rest our data mind on the results, right? I want to see, is this not working? I got to pivot. But now I'm appreciative for the failures so that now I recognize it. It's a different way of looking at things. I'll give you an example. Years ago, Tampa Bay Buccaneers drafted Jameis Winston, #1 in the draft. And it was a toss between him and a guy named Marcus Mariota. The names don't matter. The principle is. His very first game, so the big speculation is like, who do they take? Very different quarterbacks, extremely different. One was taken 1 and the other 2, and it could have very easily gone the other way. So this big speculation was, which one of these 2 quarterbacks should we take? They took Jameis. Jameis threw 5 interceptions in his first game, and guess who his first game was against? Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota had a heck of a game. Jameis threw 5 interceptions. So Dirk Cutter, who ended up becoming the coach of that team at that time, was the offensive coordinator. And I remember so clearly they were in the press conference, the presser after the game. And they kept pressing him in a negative way about his 5 interceptions. And finally, Dirk goes, "You guys are killing me. You act as if we are disappointed that the 5 interceptions happened. We are disappointed. I'll grant you that. But on the same token, we're overjoyed because now we have 5 mistakes that we can work on. We didn't have to wait 8 games to fix these problems. We got them now. We got content." And so he saw what we're talking about, and what this is about is, if we start seeing the most miserable times of our lives, the failures, the things that we like to push out, bury is the way he calls it, the stuff we want to bury is the very stuff that will help us to grow and become the best us we can be. And it's hard stuff to go through. And I got hard stuff, and I am completely sympathetic to anyone else because I think I got a pretty charming life. Like, there's people that go through so much more than I go through.
But it's because of your mindset.
That's right. Yeah. That's exactly right. He said it's because of your mindset. All right, so let me keep going. So he says that we must look and discover our internal life as a man thinketh. Don't think that there's not this non-reality that matters. It drives everything. Yet we want to go where the ball hits the bat, right? But we need to think about our approach. If we, read those things that I just read, really it's quadrant 2, right? He who develops himself, he who investigates, that's quadrant 2 activity. And then it's also the approach. If we don't feed our internal life, our positive dog, the way in the energy bus, he calls them zombies. That you just get, the way I say it is that American dream we call the rut, right? I got a good job, I got an education, I got a good job, and then we become zombies. We're to and from, and we're so regimented because we've begun, and I've told you guys this 100 times, I can't tell you how many people I've met that just stopped dreaming. And some of them don't even know it. Some of them are bitter, and they did it on purpose, Leandro. They're like, skip it. I'm done. They quit. Some of them fell into it and didn't even know it until they get around people of life and passion and dreams and brightness. And then they're like, whoa, that's in me. I got to dig it up. Find out why I squelched it. And a lot of times it comes down to self-worth, which quadrant 2 activity, another reason you develop and build that self-worth. But we can become zombies not only in our daily walk, but in our relationships, in our parenting, in the way we deal with our spouses. I mean, even Stacy and I mean, we're just busy, and we've just had some some tough seasons, and we're in great shape. But we, like Stacy said, we used to go to like Home Depot and make it fun. And we don't do that anymore. Not because we don't go to Home Depot and argue. We're just not going to Home Depot, right? Does that make sense? Hold on, Leandro. I've got something going on here. There we go. So we can become zombies in our faith, in our work, in our friend relationship. I mean, think about anything. We must have a passion that comes from within. And that is, I just don't believe, unless, there's exceptions to every rule, but unless you're massively intentional about seeing, about changing, about being intentional about how we look at the experiences of life. One of the working titles, Leandro, of my book is, who is the arbiter? Who's the decider of what is good or bad? And what does that even mean? Does it mean it's like bad, like it hurt emotionally, but it's good because it builds me? Another working title is both and. Like it's both good and bad. Like it sucks to go through, but it's great. I used to do a sermon years ago called "It's Not it's your scene, not your story. And so, I mean, you guys, I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm a man of faith. These are what my analogies are. But when I think about Jesus on the cross, I mean, I love the guy already. Can you imagine if I walked and talked with him and I could actually see him on the cross? I mean, what an amazingly awful scene. Oh, but what a story. What that done, like that opened everything up for us. That should be, for anybody of faith, that should be all you need to hear. The worst pain in the world opened up the greatest victory ever for the human race. It's the scene, not the story. And when we begin to see things like that and see that the downtimes, the things that we think are bad, like I've struck, you know what? I remember a time when we couldn't pay our power bill and we were 2 months late. So it was like $1,700 or something. It was 3 months late. Like we were getting ready. That day, it was going to be cut off by 5 o'clock. And I walked out actually Stacy got a call from a previous client from like 3 months before a prospect. And she said, hey, I'm ready to move forward. Come by and pick up a check today. $5,800 check, half of what her work was going to be. And it's like, so yeah, do I want to not be able to pay my power bill? No, I don't want that. But it provides an opportunity for something great to happen, for us to have I read a story about a guy today who was living out of his car, and now he's a YouTuber, and he's living out of his car, and he had $35 in his AdSense account, and they don't pay you unless you have $100. So he found a way to make $65. He put it in there, did a video, edited it on his phone in his car with his teenage son living with him in the car. They wake up the next day and it's got 9 million views, and he's got $11,000 in his bank account. And he goes, that was the day it all changed. But like, he wouldn't have gotten there. Like, I'd love to do that, but I don't want to go live in a car to do it, right? But it's how we use it. It's that car wasn't his scene. It was part of his story. Man, this is good stuff, Leandro. I mean, I'm telling you, and it ain't me. This is Dr. Cloud.
She has something to add.
Yes. Hey, Dana.
Hi, everybody. I'm actually listening to the Audible because it just works better for me right now.
Absolutely.
I am actually doing a lot of digging up and trying to sort of work on some things. And so I listen while I'm in my sauna that my husband built for me, which is so fabulous. I love it so much. I'm so grateful. But a couple of things that he said today really resonated with me. And one of them was, one of the worst things you can die with is potential.
Oh.
I thought that was so impactful and powerful. This book, I listened to all 3 chapters today, so I'm totally caught up. But it has me emotional because the other thing that he said was avoidance of risk is the greatest risk of all. And just talking about digging deeper when you've had that dream and then maybe something's come along. My business, just to be completely transparent, is half of what it was 2 years ago, and it's been a mental struggle. It's for me to just keep pushing forward. And sometimes, the enemy's going, well, you had it once, but you're not going to have it again. And it's digging that stuff up and throwing out what's bad and holding on to what's good. And I tell my daughter all the time, because 20 years ago, my father who adopted me overdosed my mom and killed her. And I teetered on the edge of succumbing to that and being a victim to that for the rest of my life, or having victory over that. And I always say, we're either a victim of our circumstances or we take victory over those circumstances. And I know that I'm victorious because I was created to be victorious by the Lord. So this book is really speaking to me, and I just wanted to share those couple of points that really resonated with me and where I am right now, and how important it is just to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much, Dana, for sharing and your transparency. And I hope everybody realizes how valuable that kind of input is, which is why I hope more of you are reading so that you can speak. Because what Dana just did not only was cleansing for her, but she's speaking to everybody that I'm not speaking to right now, right? I mean, Dana's going to bring up different things that I bring up, and so will you all. So I thank you so much, Dana. The more of that, the better. So anybody raise your hand, let Leandro know. I will absolutely shut up. And I would say that what I wrote down for that, what you were talking about, that portion of the book is, don't use our circumstances as excuses. Let's use them as reasons. Beatrice. Yeah, I do see a hand. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. How are you feeling, first of all?
I'm doing better. Thank God the results
Good.
were not as bad as we thought. I don't have COVID. But
Good.
I just want to say to you, Dana, you will not only get back to where you were, you will even do better. You inspire me and so many people in this organization, probably more than you ever will realize, because I'm not producing what I want to produce, and a lot of us are not. But because of your transparency and your genuine love for people, you're my inspiration. And you will get better. You're going to even far exceed what you did before, my dear. And you're going to bring all the rest of us up with you.
Hey, the Bible's very clear that our best days are always ahead of us. Always.
Beatrice, thank you so much. I love all of y'all on this call. Honestly, I'm so blessed.
We love you.
Okay, no more.
Okay, no, we're good. More tears the better. Todd, you're next. You'll be crying next. All right, listen, I wrote this down. We must have a passion that comes from within. And that's where we have to find it. And it does take, going. I mean, Dr. Cloud talks about it, that sometimes you got to really work through some stuff to get to the good stuff. You got to get through the dirt and get to the gold. But I wrote this down, which is just a thought. We must have a passion that comes from within. All things can be used for good. There's a quote in a book that says all things work for the good of the kingdom for those who believe and are called to his purpose. It says believe and called. That's an inside thing, right? Failure and heartache and brokenness can be the very teacher we need to get out of life what we want. Oh man, failure and heartache and brokenness can be the very teacher that we need to get out of life what we want. I promise you, you will not live, this is an opinion, I believe with all my heart, you will not live the greatest life you can if you do not experience failure, heartache, and brokenness. I don't think it can happen. And I put in here, however, there's no shortage of things in life that can cause us to bury our heart and our soul. There's no shortage. Like Dana said, the enemy's out there, bringing up, oh, hey, you failed. You remember this? You remember that? And I heard on the radio the other day, somebody said that like negative thoughts are like we're in a Velcro suit. Negative thoughts are like Velcro covered balls that just stick. But positive things are like Teflon. Like, oh yeah, I was great. Gone. But he told me I was stupid, right? It's like, there it is. Just won't go away. All right, I put read page 30 and I put progression next to it, which probably is going to direct me to where I need to go. All right. I had somehow, this is as she related to her story. So this is a quote. I had somehow lost touch with what I like to do. And slowly I'd come to believe that I couldn't do it. It was like a part of me had died. Then when I thought about doing it again, I was too afraid to try. If it weren't for Molly making me step out, and you got to read it, somebody actually, obviously association, powerful, right? Molly, association, making me step out and try that little job, I don't know where I'd be today. And if Sean Fountain reads this or sees this later, he's going to really appreciate it, because I did this study way before on Monday, where he kept showing his shirt that said, just do it. That's what I wrote next to it. Just do it. Just do it. Okay, so here's the progression. She lost touch with her likes, talents, desires, and so on. She allowed them to become buried. She considered doing them again, but was afraid. She was tempted to back away and keep them buried. She got a push to step out and ventured a little forward. The investment of the little step multiplied over time. And I put the law of timing and the law of process, right? How many times we talked about that? It takes both. Julia was alive again. Wow. Follow your emotions. The choice is to allow fear and experiences to keep our potential buried, or to choose to step out in faith and see the potential turn into reality, so that we don't, like Dana said, die with potential, with a whole pocket full of potential. I'm thinking, I like Survivor. I didn't watch Survivor when it first came out, ever. I don't watch network TV. I don't like commercials. And I just don't, I want to be in my bubble. And, but we watch it now. And years ago, it used to be American Idol. It used to be a very good family thing for us. We kind of grew out of that. And now it's, at least for a little bit, it was Survivor. Does anybody ever watch Survivor? Boy, I'm going to feel, okay, good. So Leandra, the guy in the room can relate to me. Good. Have you seen people leave, like get voted off with an immunity idol?
Oh yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what Dana's talking about.
Yeah.
Don't get voted off the island and have an immunity idol in your pocket. Don't leave this world and have potential built up that was never used. And do you know, I don't mean to be cynical, but there's only a small percentage of people that care, right? I mean, we have 1,900 active affiliates and we have 11 people on this call. That's about accurate, to be honest with you. I'm not being cynical. I'm not focusing on the negative. It is what it is. And that's why I get so jacked up when somebody is willing to be disciplined, sacrifice their time, and spend quadrant 2 activity. That's why I do the Nicaragua thing. Those people just want to grow. They want opportunity. They want a better life. Man, if I can help them do that, shoot. I mean, they don't get no better than that. Go ahead.
And Matt,
Yeah.
there's a book in a book that says if you don't use your gifts, you'll lose them.
You know, I prayed for my entire congregation that if they didn't use it, that God would take it. So yes, you're right about that, Dana. Thank you for that.
2 people, they have their hands.
All right, let's do.
Use and preserve both. I'd like to add to that. Dana's quote.
Yes, very, very good. Thank you. Urvashi, is that how you? That's pretty nice. I can go a long way with a name like.
Oh
that.
yes, yes. I didn't get a chance to actually talk to you, but it's an honor to hear from you. And I didn't get a chance to. Yeah.
Well, the honors.
Hi.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, you were here last year. Yeah. I recognize you now. It's good to see you again. Thank you for joining.
Good to see you too. Yeah, I really liked it. It is inspirational for sure. This whole group, and really love to be listening to your successful insights every Thursday. And then Monday, I'm sorry I missed it. I want to make sure I make it on every Monday and Thursday for sure.
But here's the thing about Monday.
And Leandro and all of you both always, and everyone in the group. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
thank
ahead.
you so much. And I'm telling you right now, Monday's it's like 80 times better because Stacy's here. Like
Yeah, I know.
most
I
people
know,
say,
but it's like it's sometimes gets occupied for me, so I miss it. But otherwise, I would. And this day, relatively, I can make it for sure. I know that, so I want to commit on the days. But yeah, because it's on a Monday and it's obviously a working day, you have to make.
Yeah,
sure.
no worries. Just that's why we record it and put it out there. We understand that a lot of people can't make it at that time, but I would say
I'm glad that you shared it on Facebook, like the link. So that's good for the live link. Leandro, yeah, thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you so much for being here. So Leandro, most people say, "Hey, you want to meet my better half?" You know what? I'm not. If I'm lying, I'm dying. I go, "I'd like you to meet my better 7/8." That's literally what I say. I mean, if you had Stacy, wouldn't you be like, "Hey, I got it."
That's a compliment.
Oh, totally. To her, she's my better 7/8. Here's the thing: I can't ever leave Stacy. I mean, I probably got 100 friends, and I think maybe 2 would choose me over her. Dude, like I'm going with Stacy. There was a Curb Your Enthusiasm, the show about that, where these 2 people split up, and he went over to his buddy's house and like, "We're sorry, we chose Cheryl over you. We can't associate with you anymore." All right.
I'll try to make it a point to make sure to attend yours and Stacy's presentation on Mondays. Yeah.
Thank you. It's Beatrice. What you got, huh? Can't hear you.
She might be.
I didn't raise my hand.
Oh, it's the old hand.
Let me take the old hand off.
Take your old hand off there, Beatrice. All right. Page, it says here, yeah, page 32. All right, so I'm reading from page 32. And the reason I read this, I like to type it, Leandro, because I learn it. But then when it's long, it's like, I'll read it, right? Those who take what they possess, invest in life, and are diligent and faithful with it over time, timing and process, right, Leandro? Grow and build something good. But those who allow fear to keep them from stepping out, not only fail to increase what they have, they actually lose it. You know what I lost? All right, so yesterday, I went back to the gym for the first time in, 7 months. I had a foot issue, then a back issue, and I got 100 other great excuses, right? Excuses are easy to come by. They're stockpiled. So finally I went yesterday, and you guys are my friends, right? So that's why I'm sharing this. So when you're doing curls, an isolated curl, you're looking, I want my elbow to be in, I want it to be a good wrap, and I'm looking down and I look at James and I go, I can't remember the last time I looked down and saw such a small arm. It's the truth, right? It's my, right? Why? Because I didn't use it. It atrophied. I mean, honestly, anything, I was talking the other day, we're like 98% water. Do you know that? 97% water? Do you know that, Leandro? Can anybody confirm that? Any teachers, anybody, Dana? It's true. It's amazing with bone, skin. Like it's 97 or something % water is what we are. I've asked this before.
To tones. That's why you guys should listen. I've been doing this for a while now. Listen to tones, like go on YouTube and find stations where music is still toned in the 432 GZ whatever sound frequency, because that's what resonates that's what helps healing, sound waves. Years and years and years ago, they toned it up. All music was taken up like by like a fourth of a step or something to take it out of that healing frequency.
To keep us out. Yeah. Crazy, right? What do you think of when you think of stagnant water?
Smelly.
Slimy, right? I mean, nasty. Stuff's growing in it that nobody wants to touch. How's it? So if we're 97+% water, come on. I mean, honestly, guys. So that's what this part of this chapter is about using the talents that you have. And here's the thing, Dana. I mean, we're talking about blessings. If we were to change that, if you're not using a talent, I pray God give it to somebody else. I don't have to pray for that. If you're not using it, you're going to lose it. Period. It's just the nature. It's just what it is. So, Leandro, I'm still good. Success and or failure, and again, we're going back to his original. I'm kind of wrapping it up right now. We're going back to the original thing where he talked about that building that they were in and how everything starts in the non-physical world before it becomes physical, as a person thinketh. Success and or failure is going to rise from the inside, from the internal life. That's what we're working on right now, is our internal life. The approach is quadrant 2 activities. The approach is not being reactive to every emotion and or feeling we have in our lives. In fact, I have a saying in life. I keep looking at this spotlight and now it's like I can't see. I have this saying in life that, see, now my ADD kicked in. Gone. Squirrel. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I've talked about, like, when we try to change things in our life, a lot of times from that analogy of a hitter, we're being reactive. We're like, okay, the ball's higher, so I'm going to swing higher. When really it's more about balance. It's about approach. And that balance and that approach is found in those quadrant 2 activities. And for those of you who don't know, that's from a Stephen Covey book called First Things First. Quadrant 2 are things that are very important in our life, but are not urgent. How many people do you know that live in quadrant 1? Important and urgent. Always running around, always reactive. I call it always having drama, right? So when we read this stuff, we begin to have an understanding that we can control the external by first controlling the internal. And people think wrong. Oh, when I get that job, I'll be happy. Oh, when I make $100,000, I'll be happy. Oh, when I shoot in the 70s, I'll be happy in God. It doesn't work like that. In fact, it's opposite. Wisdom is counterintuitive. And I do remember my saying, pragmatism and emotion don't play well together. They don't. Now, I'm not saying there's not exceptions to the rule, but generally pragmatism, which is doing right things that are smart and data driven and thoughtful, and emotion. I mean, honestly, how many times have we bought something out of emotion? You're like, oh gosh, wish I wouldn't have done that. Like, pragmatism says, emotion, you're an idiot. I told you don't do it. And emotion's like, I wasn't listening to you. I was too busy purchasing this, right? Yeah. So that, honestly, this chapter, and there's still more. Like, I got 1, 2, 3. Well, hold on. There's only a few more. So I do want to follow up with this in the back, and we will wrap up this chapter. Get the book and read it. And then after you read it, or before you read it, watch this, if whatever. I guess by now you've already watched this. So then read it. Oh no. Okay. But to get outside, but to get to the outside world, those desires have to be found, watered, fertilized, and planted. What does that sound like?
Like farmer.
Oh man, you know I love a farmer.
Yep.
Man. In short, you have to own them, work them, and use them. So here's some tips how to do that. Listen to what bugs you. It might be a message. Follow your emotions. Remember? Don't let negative feelings just sit there. Do something about them. Capture the thought. Remember I told you guys that? Don't let negative thoughts. Remember just ignore. Forget about it. Ignore it. Don't ignore it. Capture it. Deal with it. That's what Dig It Up is about. Deal with your thoughts. Deal with your emotions. Deal with everything. Don't let long-term wishes and dreams go ignored. Find out what they mean. I put don't stop dreaming. I mean, you see? Oh man, I love this guy. He and I promise I can hang out with this guy. Listen to your symptoms. They might be telling you have to dig something up. Right, Dana? Pay attention to your fantasies. They may be telling you that something is missing that you need to resolve in appropriate ways. Whoa. Now listen, I just thought of like 6 different interpretations of that. Whoever you are, there could be like a bunch of interpretations of that, depending on where we are individually. Face the fears and obstacles that have caused you to bury your treasures. And I put build calluses on your mind. Remember I told you about the world's toughest guy. There's this guy, he has completed the special forces or elite training of all 4 military branches. And he runs super marathons. He's known as like the toughest guy in the world. And he said that when he changed his life, that the first thing he did was deal with the biggest fears in his life. And he's like working in the farm and building calluses on my hand. I wanted to build calluses on my mind. That's sharp, man.
Yes.
Face the fears and obstacles that have caused you to bury your treasures. Don't confuse envy with desire. You may be envious of someone else's life because you have lost touch with your own. I put don't covet. You can't, no. Do everything above in the context of your values, your community of people who are committed to guarding your heart. Association, right? Only let the energy vampires, we got to get off our bus. And I don't mean, listen, I'm a Christian. I'm a cynical Christian, so I'm not like the most lovable. But I know that it doesn't mean that I ignore or excommunicate people. What it means is I don't let them into my proverbial house, right? There's only so many people that I let into my house. Leandro's one of them. He's not only in my house metaphorically, but physically, he's been in my home. And I am talking not about the physical, but the metaphorical. And the last one, ask God to help you find your heart, mind, and soul, and the treasures that he has placed there for you. And I put pray, and I put and listen. I think a lot of times when we pray, we're always talking. And listen, if you're praying to Buddha, I'm talking about, prayer. It doesn't have to be to my God, but listen, be quiet and still. I met with a guy the other day, an old friend of mine, man. I've known this guy for 20 years and we reconnected at lunch, Leandro. It's so great to see him. And you know why we have such a special relationship? And I got to be honest with you. How much time do we have? Oh, we're doing good. I think I might have mentioned my grandfather was a minister for 62 years. And he had married to his wife for like all 62 of those, plus all 62 of them. And when they died, their funerals were pretty similar, but they had people come up and talk about, the things that mattered. And it was always time. It was, when our daughter was in the hospital, brother and sister Pitts stayed with us all night. When I was sick at 3 a.m, brother Pitts was at my door. When so-and-so went down, sister Pitts was there with a casserole. And so this guy, Scott, he had lymphoma. He had cancer, like beat stage 3 or something. It was bone marrow cancer. And I went in the hospital and saw him. And they garbed me up. I mean, I had everything. And he never forgot that. I did. But to him, and he sees me, he always mentions that. You're the only guy that came and saw me. And to me, it's just, I felt led to, and I'm not trying to martyr myself. Honestly, I'd forgotten about it. So it wasn't anything that I coveted. I was like, oh, look at me. But the way he saw it was amazing. So I say all that to say that, you know, there's an old saying, how do kids spell love? Time. That's it. So spend time with the things we love, the people we love. And also this would say, spend time with some of those things that we don't love, our past, some of the things that keep us from becoming who we can be. One of the worst things that you can die. Oh, look, there it is. I have it underlined. One of the worst things you can do is die with potential. Die with failures before you die with potential. Oh, man. Nailed it. Nailed it. That is it from my training. Any input, anything is more than welcome, but I feel like that's a great stopping point. And that's the end of the chapter. That was like the second to last sentence.
I had something I wanted to share. I just got this from a friend this morning, and it is from stuff that we've talked about in the past, and I just thought it was beautiful. There was a farmer who grew excellent quality corn. Every year he won the award for the best grown corn. One year, a newspaper reporter interviewed him and learned something interesting about how he grew it. The reporter discovered that the farmer shared his seed corn with his neighbors. How can you afford to share your best seed corn with your neighbors when they are entering corn in competition with yours each year? The reporter asked. Why, sir, said the farmer, didn't you know? The wind picks up pollen from the ripening corn and swirls it from field to field. If my neighbors grow inferior corn, cross-pollination will steadily degrade the quality of my corn. If I am to grow good corn, I must help my neighbors grow good corn. Oh, so it is with our lives. Those who want to live meaningful and well must help enrich the lives of others, for the value of a life is measured by the lives it touches. And those who choose to be happy must help others find happiness, for the welfare of each is bound up with the welfare of all.
We got to help others get what they want before we get what we want. Man, that is awesome, Val. Wow. More of you and less of me is better. I'm telling you. Anyone else? Yes, Leandra. Is that a new hand?
Yes, it is.
Go ahead, Beatrice. Thank you for getting your old hand out of there and putting your new hand.
Thanks for sharing that, Val. That was beautiful. I just wanted to share that I've been struggling with some health issues since Sunday, and I tried what you suggested. I was able to walk 10 minutes yesterday, and I was so grateful for that. And I did the 10-minute gratitude walk. And we live near the beach, so I was able to walk on the beach and watch the sunset. And it was life-changing. Instead of me focusing on the sickness and the negative things, and I spoke it out loud, just like you said. And, I've always think about the positive thing, but to speak it out loud and put it in the atmosphere was amazing. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Beatrice. That's what it's all about.
Chris, I didn't know that you were sick. And I love you. And I just want you to know I'm praying for you.
Thank you so much.
And I got to give a big shout out to you, sweetheart. You are my thoughts and prayers. I really hope you do feel better, because I know what it's like to be ill. So tons and tons of prayers sent in your way, sweetie.
We all love you.
Thank you.
You know that.
Thank you so
Please
much.
get well soon from my side too.
Thank you, guys.
Prayers for you, Beatrice. We all love you.
Thank you, guys.
And this is an amazing community, Leandra. We are so glad. Hey, Beatrice, the next time I do my, which will be tomorrow morning, when I do my praise and thanks walk, certainly everyone here will be on that, but just this community, I mean, what a cool thing to be able to tap into. And it is not any one, but the sum of all the parts that make it work. So thank you, everybody. All right, guys, love you much. We'll see, talk on Monday. We'll have my better 7/8. And
have a great weekend, everybody.
Yeah, bye, you guys. Thank you so much. Love you all, man.